everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends 6-inch X-Men series Kitty Pryde figure from Hasbro. Now this figure comes packaged in the same style packaging we see with all the Marvel Legends. You've got the black box, the yellow highlights, the Build-A-Figure logo up at the very top, then the Legend series logo, the figure clearly displayed, and then the X-Men name and name of the character down below. On the side we have some artwork for the character, and then on the back of the packaging we have a look at the actual figure, a brief bio in multiple languages, and then down below a look at all the figures in the wave that you need to get in order to complete the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure. Okay, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging along with the other contents. Now first of all, we have the right arm for the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure, and we'll be looking at Juggernaut in his own video probably in the next few days, so be sure to check back for that. Next we get the Magneto head that goes to the Onslaught Build-A-Figure that we got in the Captain America Legend wave, and I'm going to be looking at this in more detail at the end of this video. Finally, we get the Lockheed Dragon, Kitty Pryde's pet dragon, and this is done with a kind of rubber type material mostly. The wings are very flexible. They don't have actual articulation, but they do. You can move them kind of back and forth, and they're done with just that kind of soft vinyl material like we see with capes and stuff. Same with the tail. It's a very bendy type material. It's not bendy wire or anything, unfortunately. That may have actually been better, but it is that kind of rubber material, and it's shaped in a bendy type position. Then you've got some pretty nice sculpting detail on this little head. You can see the yellow eyes, and you can see some teeth sculpted in there with the mouth, and he's got some scales throughout the body, so I like that. You know, again, even though this is a very small thing, you know, I think overall the sculpting's pretty good. They've used just looks like mostly a kind of a glossy purple paint on it. This thing stands roughly about 1 inch in height. It's not as big as the one that came with the old Toy Biz Kitty Pryde figure, so that one was a little bit bigger. And honestly, that one probably has more sculpting detail. It's actually, this one's more of a hard plastic as opposed to this kind of rubber material that they used for this one. And you can see like the eyes and the teeth sticking out like that on this one. So this one's a bit bigger, but the thing I like best about this new one is that you can have it stand on her shoulder. You can have Lockheed stand on her shoulder. So basically what you do is you wrap it around her neck, the tail that is, and then he'll basically stay there on her shoulder. So I like that because in the comic that's normally where you would see him, is on the shoulder. So like on the old Toy Biz one, you had this little clip that you plugged into the bottom of the figure's feet, and then you would just clip that on her wrist, and that's how she would hold him. And with this one, you can put this on her wrist if you want. You can wrap the tail around her hands. It doesn't stay as well. It does have more of a tendency to fall off. You know, you can make it work if you really want her to hold it like that. And if you have the old Toy Biz one, you can always use that one. You can always stick this little clip and then stick on the Toy Biz Lockheed if you prefer to pose the figure with him standing on her wrist like that. Figure itself, I think they've done a really nice job with the face sculpt, much improved over the old Toy Biz one, which had a really ugly face sculpt. I like the way the hair is sculpted and a ponytail and everything, and again, I just think they've done a really nice job with the face sculpt on this one. Pretty good paint applications. The eye pupils are pretty straight. She's got kind of a pinkish lipstick. Skin tone is decent. So overall, I think they've done a nice job. The hair is just a brown color. She's got the little yellow ponytail, or ribbon for the ponytail. And then the rest of the figure is almost black color with a darker yellow. So a much darker yellow than what we saw in the Toy Biz one. Then she's got this belt that's a loose piece, and it's got the little X, the red and black X on it. So I like that. Basic paint applications. Now I do just want to point out, it looks like I've got a little bit of paint rubbing here at the midsection where you can see some of the yellow. Looks like maybe some of the black paint has been scraped off, and you can see some yellow here at the midsection. And then also you can see a little bit of yellow here in the pins on the leg, and then back here on the back of the knee joint you can see a little bit of yellow where it looks like the joint has scraped off some of the paint. Not a big deal, but just wanted to point that out. And I just think this looks so much better than the old Toy Biz one. You know, I love Toy Biz figures, but they're female figures. The Toy Biz ones were most of them had terrible face sculpts. Now this figure shares most of the same parts as like with the Silk figure and the Ashley Barton figure. So there are some differences, mainly up here, the upper torso, because we've got this added piece of her outfit that kind of sticks out over her shoulder. So this is different from the other figures, but like the lower torso is the same, and the legs are the same, and the feet are the same. The lower arms are different because she's got these gloves that kind of stick out, but the hands themselves are actually the same as the ones on the Silk figure. So this figure stands just a little bit over 6 inches tall, maybe about 6 1/4 inches taller than the original Toy Biz one. Here she is next to the Hasbro Star-Lord figure, and I'm giving you this comparison because the last time I saw Kitty, this is who she was dating in the comic books. Here she is next to her friend Magic, and you can see she is taller than Magic. I'm not sure in the comics if she's taller or if they're about the same height. I want to say they were about the same height. Here she is with some of her original X-Men teammates. Now all of these except for Wolverine are Toy Biz figures. And then finally a comparison with her Excalibur teammates. For articulation, you can turn the head to the left and to the right, and she's got good down movement, and even with the ponytail, she can actually look up pretty good. The ponytail, you've got some flexibility to it. It's not a super hard plastic, so that's a good thing. Arms you can get out good, and she's got pretty good rotation. This piece that comes out is actually somewhat soft, so you can still rotate the arm all the way around. It's a soft kind of rubber material. And then she's got only the single hinged elbow, so she can bend her elbow about that much. And then she's got the rotation there at the elbow, rotation at the wrist, the hinges on the hands, so good up and down movement with the hands. She's got a rotation there at the midsection. She can crunch down pretty good, and she can look up pretty good there at the midsection as well. She does not have a waist swivel. Legs are attached with ball joints, so she can only do, with the way her butt's sculpted, she can't do the splits very well. She can only do the splits kind of like that, and then you can get her leg forward good, but you can't really do the leg back at all. She's got a thigh swivel, double hinged knee, so good bending at the knee. Then she's got hinges on the feet, so up and down movement, and then she does have ankle pivot and 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so getting back to this Magneto head, Hasbro's done a pretty good job with the paint on this. You've got the red for the helmet, and then you've got this purple, almost done in a metallic purple type trim around the helmet, around the eyes. The eyes and the face are all darkened in, and then they've used a blue paint for the eyes on this one, and so I think it comes off looking pretty good and menacing. So first of all, some of you have asked, will this head fit on your Hasbro Marvel Legends Magneto figure? And the answer is technically yes. It does fit pretty loosely. The ball on the figure is not big enough to make the head fit tight, but if you wanted to basically just set it on top of there, then you can do it. And I think it looks pretty good for the most part. So if you wanted kind of a more menacing, evil-looking Magneto, you could make this head work on this figure. But obviously what this head is really made for is to go on top of your Onslaught figure, the Build-A-Figure that came, was it 2 Captain America Legends waves ago? So we got, with that Build-A-Figure, we got this Red Skull head, since we did see the Onslaught character recently in the Marvel Comics, where Red Skull had become the Red Onslaught. And so that's what this figure was based on. But the original Onslaught, those of us who read X-Men comics in the 90s know that the original Onslaught was a merging of Professor X and Magneto, and that the character actually had a Magneto-style head. So that's really when we saw this Build-A-Figure, was what we all really wanted, was this Magneto-style head. So Hasbro has finally given it to us, and I think it looks pretty good. You just snap it on, of course, and I think it fits on there pretty good. Now, the head doesn't have a whole lot of movement in there. You can turn it a little bit to the left and the right, but there's no real up or down movement. But I definitely think it fits well and looks good. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Onslaught figure itself, since we looked at this figure in its own review a while back. But again, I just wanted to give you a look at the Onslaught with the Magneto head on there. And the red, I won't say the red between the body and the head are exact matches. Looks like maybe they're a little off, but not enough to be that noticeable. You really have to kind of look at it closely to see. The red on the figure itself is a little more shiny. I think that's why it looks maybe not exactly the same, but I think the head does look good on top of this figure. And just to give you some comparisons, this is the old 5-inch Toy Biz Onslaught figure. This is the classic Onslaught that Toy Biz did in the 5-inch scale a long time ago. And then here's a comparison with the Toy Biz Onslaught Build-A-Figure. Now, Onslaught eventually took on this form that you see in the Toy Biz one, but this is definitely the more popular form for the character. So we were all, I remember when this figure first was announced, we were all kind of disappointed, or a lot of us, I should say, were disappointed when we saw that Toy Biz was going to give us this version as opposed to the classic version. So it's taken many, many years, but we're now finally getting the classic version, which makes me very happy. Now, I will say my only complaint with this Onslaught figure is I will say he's probably a little bit on the small side. I would have liked to have seen him a little taller, but otherwise I think this is a very nice looking figure. Okay, so that's my review. So I really like this figure. In fact, it's probably one of the favorite figures in the wave for me. I really like the face sculpt on the Kitty Pryde. I think it's a vast improvement over the old Toy Biz one. I like the Lockheed Dragon and how he can sit on her shoulder and not just her wrist. And then as the big bonus, I really like the fact that we're getting that Magneto style Onslaught Build-A-Figure head. Basically, I've been waiting for that for a very long time. So that in its own right makes this figure worth picking up. So this figure, along with the rest of the wave, has started to see a limited release. Some e-tailers got limited stock of these. They'll be getting more in August. I've also heard some reports of these possibly showing up at Target stores. So I haven't seen that for myself, but you might want to start checking Target if you want to try and pick these up in the wild. So we'll have a full gallery of images up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please follow me on my Facebook and or Twitter pages. I'll have links to those in the video description below. And until next time, I'll catch you later.